It's Wubbleless Nerd Out time! How you guys doing today? Happy When Wellness Nerd Out time, you guys. And today we are going to be talking about growth hormone a little bit more. We're going to finish our discussion on it. We're going to talk about how it plays a major role in bone growth, fat breakdown, and gluconeogenesis, or the production of new sugar in the liver, right? And before we get into anything, we got to say, happy birthday, Dylan Clay. Happy birthday, brother. I hope you're enjoying it. This one is for you. Also, happy birthday, Mayor Corey. How you doing, baby? Happy birthday, Mayor. I love you, brother. And happy birthday, Paul Capabianco. We didn't forget about you either. I hope the three of you are having a fantastic day today. This one is for you guys. We'll talk about each of them in their own right at the end of this video, but as for now, let's start talking about growth hormone. So if you were with us yesterday, we talked about how growth hormone can travel to the liver. We went from top to bottom with its production from the arcuate nucleus and the hypothalamus in growth hormone releasing hormone, traveling down the hypophyseal trunk to the anterior pituitary gland, or the adenohypophysis, where the somatotropes release growth hormone, and it can travel through the blood to the liver, to promote the production of IGF-1 via the JAK-STAT pathway. And we said how IGF-1 could then travel to skeletal muscle and promote amino acid uptake and muscle hypertrophy and improving muscle function as well, right? So, starting from there, if you weren't with us, I wanted to give a quick summary of what we were talking about so you know where we left off. Today, we are going to be talking about, like we said, bone growth. We're going to be talking about fat breakdown and gluconeogenesis. So let's start with the bones, right? So growth hormone, right? We said that it promotes the production of IGF-1 in the liver. And aside from promoting amino acid uptake in our skeletal muscles, IGF-1 that is, right? IGF-1 also can travel to the bone and bind cell surface receptors on the bone to promote what's called endochondral ossification. And so, what's that? Okay, so endochondral ossification is one form of bone growth or bone ossification, right? And the other form being intramembranous, which we won't talk about today because it's not as relevant in our discussion here in regards to growth hormone and IGF-1. But when we talk about endochondral ossification, well, it is the expansion of our bone via the proliferation and differentiation of chondrocytes or cartilage cells into bone, right? So what happens is this IGF-1, it gets to our bone, finds a cell surface receptor, and it promotes an intracellular cascade to eventually, we won't get into intermediate things like that, to eventually promote osteoclastic and osteoblastic activity. So what does that mean? Well, osteoclasts, they break down bone. And you're like, what? He breaks down our bone? Hear us out, all right? We'll explain it, of course, as we always do here at When Wellness. And osteoblastic activity. Osteoblasts are our bone builders, okay? So this osteoclastic activity, or resorption of bone, we could say, comes before the building of bone that is done by our osteoblasts, right? And so what we have happening is the growth of the bone in two ways. We have interstitial growth, which is the lengthening of the bone via endochondral ossification, and we have apophyseal growth, or the widthening, the increase in width of the bone as well, right? And we get the stimulation of the production of collagen type 1, all right? So again, IGF-1 stimulates protein synthesis in the bones as well, in the form of collagen type 1, our primary form of collagen found in a bone. And you know, aside from that, we said we have interstitial growth, so the lengthening of the bone. So how does that happen, and how is it related to endochondral ossification? Great question. We got an answer for you. So here we'll say that this is all one bone, which it's not, of course, right? But we'll say this is the head of our long bone, or we could say the epiphysis, the end of our long bone. And we'll say that this is the diaphysis, our long shaft of, again, the long bone. And we have our epiphyseal growth plate in the metaphyseal region. The metaphysis is between our diaphysis and epiphysis of the bone. And when we have our epiphyseal plate here, we're referring to the growth plate, aka. So that's where we're honing in on right now, is right there, okay? If this again was our long bone, all right? And so at the epiphyseal plate region, we have this endochondral ossification occurring via IGF-1 action on the bone. And what's happening is we have all these chondrocytes, these cartilage cells, okay? And what happens is they proliferate, so we get more. They also increase in size, right? And so they get bigger, each one gets bigger, and they proliferate, so we get more of them, like we said. Now the bottom ones, closer to the diaphyseal region, or the shaft of our bone, will then differentiate into bone cells, right? Or osteocytes, we could say, right? And this is this osteoblastic activity happening here, where the chondrocyte differentiates into a bone cell. So now the lower one, bone, bone, bone. The bone grows in length. Bone, bone, bone. Bone, bone, bone. Bone, bone, bone. As we're producing more cartilage, so we have more cartilage cells to convert to bone. And so the bone lengthens, right? And this happens in our growth spurt, right? And this happens as a result of IGF-1 binding against cell surface receptors on the bone, okay? And, aside from this interstitial growth, this lengthening, we also have an increase in width. We said apophyseal growth, right? And that is something definitely not to be forgotten, as we have type 1 collagen protein synthesis going on as well. So now that we talked about the bone a little bit, let's talk about how we break down fat. How we break down fat. So now everything we were just referring to was in regards to insulin-like growth factor 1, right? IGF-1. And we said it, which is produced as a result of growth hormone release, right? When it gets to the liver and promotes that whole JAK-STAT pathway to happen, intracellularly, right? If you want to hear about the pathway, tune in to yesterday's discussion. We talked about it briefly, all right? But growth hormone now, we're talking growth hormone, not IGF-1 here. Growth hormone can do other things besides just going to the liver to promote IGF-1 production. It could travel to our adipose tissue, right? And it travels to these stored fat cells, and it promotes what's called lipolysis, or lipo being fat, lysis being the breakdown of fat cells, right? Or we could say triglycerides, right? And what is a triglyceride composed of? Well, a triglyceride is composed of a glycerol backbone and then free fatty acids coming off of it, connected by ester bonds, right? And so we cleave these ester bonds via the promotion of what's called hormone-sensitive lipase activity. And doesn't that make so much sense, right? So what hormone-sensitive? Sensitive to growth hormone, binding to those adipose cells, right, to our stored fat cells, right? So hormone-sensitive lipase, it's breaking down fat, so it makes so much sense. So in response to this growth hormone release, we are going to be breaking down these fat cells. So what do we do now? What do we do with this glycerol backbone, or these free fatty acids? Well, let's focus on the glycerol backbone, okay? So what's going to happen is actually super cool. I hope you think it's as cool as I do, because I think this stuff is really awesome in general, but this is neat. So this glycerol backbone will then travel to the liver, and glycerol can serve as a precursor, we could say, or a substrate for gluconeogenesis, to promote gluconeogenesis. And so what is gluconeogenesis? Glucose, or sugar, new, genesis, production. So producing more sugar from this glycerol backbone we got from breaking down fat. Super interesting, right? So when in general, aside from growth hormone, when do we break down fat and produce glucose, and when do we break down glucose and produce fat? Rule number 1, as a general metabolic rule, right? The common mantra being that when we take in a lot of fat and we have fatty acids in the blood, we are going to be producing the opposite. All right, generally, when we eat healthy fats, we produce glucose. Good, ding ding. Bad, eating too many carbs, especially processed carbs, things like that. Now, carbs are good, in their own right in general, but we like to focus on healthy fat sources, right? More towards that keto type of a diet, right? And I hate the word diet in general, but I guess I use it there. But you get the point where we want to focus on the healthy fat sources. And if you're eating a ton of carbs and you have high carbohydrate or glucose in the blood, then we're going to produce fat. We produce the opposite, all right, of what we eat all the time. So that doesn't seem to, be something that would be desirable for most of us. Now, getting back to growth hormone, what is so interesting here and what makes so much sense, it all comes together, you guys, full circle, and it's just so simple, So what did we say were some things that would promote the release of growth hormone in the first place, right? Well, a few of them were, high amino acid content in the blood. Well, that makes sense because we use these amino acids for muscle protein synthesis as they influx into our skeletal muscle to promote muscle hypertrophy, right, and improve muscle function, right? And I should say that, that is via IGF-1 after we've converted growth hormone or at least use growth hormone to promote IGF-1 production when growth hormone gets to the liver. But growth hormone itself can also travel to the skeletal muscle and promote this amino acid uptake to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So it can do that as well, right? They both can play that role in muscle protein synthesis in our skeletal muscle, right? But what else would cause the release of growth hormone? As we said yesterday, other conditions are having low amounts of fatty acids in the blood, having low amounts of glucose in the blood, low blood sugar. And we said exercise, and healthy stressors are, massive promoters of growth hormone release in their own right. We will leave them aside for right now and focus on low fatty acids and low amounts of sugar in the blood, aka glucose. So why does this make so much sense? Well, what did we just say? We said that when we release growth hormone, it goes to what? Stored fat. It goes to our adipose tissue, promotes lipolysis via hormone-sensitive lipase, or that breakdown of our fat, or triglycerides, we could say, so that we get that glycerol backbone that goes to the liver to promote gluconeogenesis. So if you had high amounts of fat in the blood, would your body want to go break down your fat stores necessarily? Well, no, right? It has a bunch of fat. The body does what is convenient. It doesn't need to go get more energy. It has a bunch available in the blood right now. It's going to use it. And whatever it doesn't use, it will store, right? That makes sense, right? And so it makes so much sense that if there was a low amount of fatty acids in the blood, that would promote growth hormone release, because then it would, of course, travel to our adipose tissue and promote the fat breakdown, right? So then what about the second part? What about gluconeogenesis? Well, we said also low blood sugar promotes growth hormone release, low amounts of blood glucose. And so doesn't that make so much sense? Why would we produce more glucose if we have high amounts of glucose in the blood? Don't make sense. Body wouldn't do it. Again, does what's convenient and what makes sense and just naturally flows in this way. And so it makes a lot of sense that when we would have low amounts of blood sugar, that would stimulate growth hormone release, right? Because it will break down the fat, use the glycerol backbone to produce more sugar. So really, really neat stuff, you guys. I think it's just absolutely just awesome. I think it's so cool. I love talking about it. And I wanted to bring everything full circle today for you guys. So that sums up our discussion on growth hormone. If you want to see the rest again, go to our video from yesterday. And, before we go, though, we have to absolutely say happy birthday to Dylan, Mare, and Paulie. And we're going to start with Dylan Clay. Happy birthday, Dill. I love you, bro. Oh, man, you're a great dude. You're very real. You're very real. and you're also somebody that will stick anybody on the rugby field. Dylan could be thinner than you, all right? But I promise you this: you run at him, you're getting stuck, all right? And he will never give up. You will just keep going and going and going. And I was talking with you the other day, and we have our own conversation, and we don't need to talk about everything, but one thing I do want to illustrate, again, that is so true, is that everybody that knows you appreciates you, all right? Everybody appreciates the things that you do for them out of the goodness of your heart, because you're just a great-hearted person, and you can't fake that. It just naturally flows out of you, and I'm really glad that I got to play rugby at Stony Brook, had a chance to meet you, and we'll be friends for our entire lives. So I love you, brother. Know that this one is for you. Next up, Mayor! Happy birthday, Mayor, you beast! I hope you are having an awesome day, dude. I hope Miami's treating you great. I'm sure it is. And when I think of Mayor, really funny. Well, also strong rugger right there. This guy, he'll stick you as well. Won't give up, and a great doc. There's so much everybody could learn from you. In the sense of being a better chiropractor. When I talk to you, I try to pick your brain as much as I can. While just enjoying my time with you, like when I saw you at Matthias's wedding, and you were in great spirits, your life is in a great place, and it was so happy to see you like that. First off, another thing, when we were there, is when we had the When Wellness workout days, and I was doing a workout. We were doing our lunges coming forward, right? And the door opens in the hotel room, and here comes Mayor right in, and just dives right into the workout, just dove right in. And I loved it, man. I love you. Oh man, I'm just laughing, picturing what was happening. We had such a great time that weekend in general, but that was really fun. And I love you, man. I want you to know 100,000% as well that this one is for you. So I hope you had a great birthday, and I hope you continue to have a great birthday. Last up, we got Paulie, Paul Capabianco. Happy birthday, Paulie. You look like you're always having a great time. When I would see your snaps and stuff in the group chat, which I almost never post anything in because I'm almost never on Snapchat, about Clemson, just wearing like a friend's ring. The guy who won the national championship, and you're friends with him. I'm like, Paulie's living a good life, man. You're doing great. And, you weren't there for 500 years, so I know that you also were doing your work. You had fun, but you got in and out of there at the same time, and your life seems to be in a great place as well. I haven't seen you in a long time. I love you and your brother. You guys are great people, great family, and I want you to know also, Paulie, this one is for you. Never stop living it up, my friend, all right? You're doing a great job, and it makes me happy to see that your life is in a good place. So thank you, guys. Who do we got on here today? We got Mark Seeger. How you doing, brother? Thank you for hopping on. Maxie, I'll see you in a little bit, baby. What's up? What's up? X01, what's up? How you doing? Thank you for tuning in. Mamma mia, how you doing? Thanks, Mom, for hopping on. I love you so much. Great seeing you before. All right, you guys, that sums it up for today. Thank you very much. Fantastic discussion on growth hormone and 3 great people, and we will see you tomorrow, folks. Have a great rest of your day. You 3 have a great rest of your birthday, and happy When Wellness. Thank you.